Okay, guys, so here it is, the astrology series number 2, or whatever you want to call it, number 2 or whatever, but we are going to be discussing Taurus. So let me actually, because let's do it this way so that you guys have something decent to look at. I'm like, my wall is so damn bland. Okay, so as you guys know, I always talk about the unevolved portion of a sign and the evolved portion of a sign, right? So I'm going to give you kind of the rundown of the experiences that I have had with Tauruses, female and male, right? Because I feel like a different perspective is good to give you. And then we're going to kind of run down some of the good traits and then some of the bad traits. And again, most of the bad traits I feel you'll see in someone who's unevolved or who still needs to grow, etc., etc. Okay, so first of all, Taurus is a bull, right? Taurus is the sign of the bull. They are very, very, very stubborn. Okay, and what I mean by stubborn is not like, not wanting to kind of like budge an inch or whatever, but they're just stubborn in the sense that, you could literally tell them something that is not good for them or something that is good for them, and they will really truly not see it that way. It takes them a while. And the funny thing is that some of them do know what's good and bad for them, but they don't want to admit it to themselves or to you, and so they'll stay stubborn. They'll stay in the stubborn energy. Okay, so that's one of kind of like the negative traits that I feel that can happen a lot with Taurians. Another thing is if they're unevolved, they can be very, very selfish. Let's just put it out there, okay? If they're unevolved, I have noticed a lot of Taurians to be very, very selfish, right? They want something, they will go for it, but they will use it for their benefit, right? They won't really worry about kind of like the outcome or how it will turn out or like how it might make another person feel. So they can tend to be really, really selfish, not in a good way, not in a very good way at all. And another negative thing I feel about Taurians when they're unevolved is that a lot of them could hold back their emotions a lot. Again, as I always state, this very much depends on like their full birth chart, which is why I do birth charts, right? But it can be pretty bad. It can be pretty bad. I feel like they could do a lot of talking, but not a lot of showing when they're unevolved. And that could also be a problem for people as well. Another thing about Taurians is that I recognize that they could get really, really mad. They can get very ill-tempered. For the most part, they're easygoing, but they can get really, really super angry. And I've noticed that a lot with a lot of Taurians as well. They can get really, really super angry. Some of the good things about Taurians is that when they are evolved, right, like if they've done a lot of healing and growing, they can be amazing. Like they can be very, very loving, and show you that love, right? They can do lots of gifting, want to take care. Sorry guys, my battery was dying. They could want to take care of you, give you like princess, king treatment, all that kind of stuff. So they could be really, really amazing when they want to be, okay? And when they really, truly do feel something for somebody or they feel comfortable with you, they definitely will open up, right? When they're evolved, they definitely will open up. And you actually see that stubborn side die down a lot when they're evolved, okay? Which is great. So again, you could probably take a lot of the negative traits and turn them into positive when they're evolved, because it's almost kind of like Superman, like how you have the Superman who's really, really great, but then when he has that particular stone, like I think red kryptonite or something, it's like you see the complete, opposite, right? So it's kind of like that. I feel like it's the perfect way to describe a Taurian type of personality or Taurian energy, right? Taurian males, I feel like with the Taurus males, I see a lot more of the not showing feelings and being really stubborn, but I feel like the females, depending on their energy, they could probably be like that as well, right? But one thing I love about Taurian females is that they're very fun, the males too, they could be really fun, very funny, very flirty. I really like that energy. But I notice like with females a lot more, obviously, and I think it's probably just because it's the female energy. They're more kind of like flashy when it comes to certain things, as opposed to like a Taurian male. Even though Taurian males like good food, you know, expensive things, you know, like really good taste or whatever. I feel like they can hold themselves back a lot more from like purchasing or like indulging in those things, as opposed to like a Taurian female. I feel like a Taurian female would want to indulge a lot more, you know what I mean? So that's another, you know, couple things about Taurus is they love flashy things, you know, they love really, really good food. They are homebodies for sure. They like to be home a lot, you know, like they'll go out, have a good time. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, they're like a really good time when they're out. They could be very, very social. They're like social butterflies and very, very funny, but mostly they like to be home. You know, they like to feel like they are home. They want to be comforted. They want to be at home. Like that's kind of like their vibe. That's kind of like their energy. And yeah, so like I said, you know, you can deal with all kinds of different aspects of someone if they're unevolved and if they're evolved. All right. So again, they're very stubborn. It's the sign of the bull. And it really depends on what else they have in their chart, which is where you might see a little bit more of the unevolved portion of them, or you might see more of like the evolved version. So it really, really honestly depends on a person's full chart. But that's kind of my take on Taurus. You know, I know several Taurians. I've channeled lots of Taurian energy, you know, and the last thing that I also do want to say about Taurians is that they have this thing with obligation. I've noticed it in almost females, males, like I've noticed it in almost all Taurians that I've ever channeled. They have this thing with obligation, you know, like if they have made a choice in their life, it's almost kind of like they feel like they feel very obligated and tied to that choice. So let's say, for example, you have somebody who is married, has kids, or who signed up for a job or something per se. It's almost kind of like they feel like they can't leave that job or they can't leave that family, regardless of how unhappy it might make them. It makes it really hard for them to pursue happiness. Let's put it that way. And I feel like that's an underlying thing that a lot of people won't tell you about Taurians, is that that's how they can be. They're so obligated. They feel so obligated and feel so tied to loyalty, in the sense that they don't want to be looked at a certain way for like not completing a task or like not going the full way, right? And that can really honestly affect a lot of Taurians from finding happiness. There's a lot of Taurians out there that I feel like are very, very unhappy in situations, and, you know, like again, experiences with like family or like you know, work, or, you know, even friends, you know, things like that. Like they feel so obligated and they don't want to be looked at in a certain way. And so that's one of the main things that I kind of want to say about Taurians, that I feel like a lot of them need to really realize within themselves that they really should follow their heart, you know, and go chase the happiness. All right. So that is my take on Taurians. I hope that you guys appreciated that. I hope that you guys take a little bit of new information that maybe you didn't know about Taurians, you know, because everybody's experience is different with them. So I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I still haven't figured out who I'm going to do next. I'm going to have to choose either like an air sign or a fire sign. So I might do Libra next. So I think we'll head into air sign next week, and we might dive into the sign of Libra. So I will see you guys next week for another Astrology with Melissa lesson in regards to some information about signs that maybe you did not know. So I love you guys. I know it's been forever since I did this. It was supposed to be done Monday, but it was Labor Day. Micah started school today, but here we are. So there goes your guys' video in regards to Taurians. So I'll see you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.